What up, Wizards? It's Dev from The Place, and today we get to finish off Spider Man preview season already. That was a quick one. We've got both a couple of new cards that we got to look at to really bring things home, and then probably a lot of opinions that I want to get to, a lot of thoughts and stuff. Now that the set is fully spoiled, I see a lot of content creators giving their thoughts and opinions on this set, and I kind of wanted to give my own too because I have a lot of them. And most of those thoughts are conflicting, so it's going to be fun to hash that out with no script in front of a camera. We'll get to it, but first, like I said, we got a couple of new cards we got to look at, and to be honest, not the absolute best cards in the world, but they're not the worst either. I think both of these have at least somewhat of a chance, especially the second one. Well, let's get to the first one first. That only makes sense. It's Sudden Strike over here, just a lower rarity white card that looks pretty simple. 1 and a white for an instant. Destroy target attacking or blocking creature. Nice, clean, single line of text that is pretty powerful, and it's a little surprising that we've never seen this effect before, at least not at this mana cost, right? Divine Verdict is exactly this card, but it costs twice as much as this card. At this mana value, I guess there's Puncturing Light, but that only hits small guys, and then Surge of Righteousness, I think it's called, is kind of this card, but it only hits black or red creatures. So this is kind of one of the better versions of this effect that we've ever got when it really comes down to it. In Standard, you probably just keep playing Ride's End if you're even still playing Ride's End after Up the Beanstalk got banned. I'm pretty sure that's why everyone was on that card for a while. And you might just play like better white removal spells, like by and large Get Lost is a better spell than this, but I still kind of like this. I like how clean it is, how simple it is, just that one line of relatively powerful text. I think it limited, especially sealed. At your pre-release, you take every copy of this that your pool will give you and you play them all. Just a great removal spell there, but I think it might even have chops in Standard depending on like what white removal we have to choose from in like a year's time. But that other card that I wanted to talk about today is a little bit more exciting in a lot of ways. It's Hobgoblin, Mantled Marauder. This is 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 1/2 flying haste that is also a legendary goblin human villain, by the way. And whenever you discard a card, Hobbs gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Okay, so it's a slick shot show-off that doesn't care if you cast spells, it cares if you discard cards, so it actually goes really well with a lot of stuff in Standard right now. Turn 1, you play the Shark, Marauding Mako, right? Turn 2, you play Hobbs. It kind of sucks that you can't actually grow the Mako that turn. It is what it is. Turn 3, you play like Tersa Light Shatter, and you swing for 11? I think it's 11, am I right? 3 + 3 + 5 is 11, so I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. But either way, not a bad swing on turn 3. And on turn 4, you can do, I don't know, whatever evil thing you can dream up to deal the rest of your opponent's life total to them. But aside from that, we've got things in Standard that wheel on turn 3, or at least like a thing in Standard that wheels on turn 3 in Brass's Tunnel Grinder. So turn 2 Hobgoblin, turn 3 Tunnel Grinder, discard 7 cards or whatever you got, and swing for like 15 with Hobgoblin. Even if you're only discarding 5 cards, I think you're still swinging for 11 damage on turn 3, and that's a lot of damage. Kills pretty quickly, and if you're able to discard your whole hand on turn 3 to Tunnel Grinder, it's likely you may draw into another Tunnel Grinder and deal just as much damage on the next turn too, so I think there might actually be a deck here, seriously. Oh, and I nearly forgot about Joshua. You can play Joshua in the deck too, I guess, if you wanted to go red-white instead of red-blue, or maybe just keep it mono red. Honestly, it's up to you, Haas. You know, you can play like Monument to Endurance in your deck if you want to. There's a lot of reasons to want to discard cards in Standard right now, and this is just another one of them. This guy's really cool. Matter of fact, that's how I feel about a lot of the cards that I've seen in this set. I didn't expect to like so many cards from the set on an individual basis, and I really didn't expect to like the set at all. And there are still some ways in which I am not in love with the Spider-Man set, I gotta say. And now that's where we get into the discussion portion of this video, because there's kind of a lot to say about not just my feelings on this set, but the community's feelings on the set at large. And don't worry, I know how I sound here. It sounds like I'm ratcheting up to make this like a full-on in defense of the Spider-Man set video like I did with Ether Drift, but I guess the big difference is I don't feel the same way about Spider-Man as I did about Ether Drift. And with Ether Drift, I could see why a lot of people wouldn't be into the set, but it felt in some ways, like I said, made specifically for me. I love racing. I do find magic in it, and I genuinely liked Ether Drift as a set. I might be like the only guy in the world that did, but I made a passionate defense of that set because I liked it so much, and I can't really do the same thing with Spider-Man because I just don't feel that way. Now, you won't be getting any impassioned defenses this time because, you know, I kind of feel the same way a lot of the other content creators on this site feel about it. I've had a couple of my friends put out videos in the last week, and they all kind of say, I don't hate Final Fantasy necessarily. What I feel instead is a weird form of indifference and apathy towards the set that I didn't expect to feel. And if you're Witches of the Coast, That's what you don't want. Exactly what you don't want. You know, a little bit of division in the community will drum up some buzz at the very least, but apathy, feeling nothing at all, that is terrible. Now, to be honest, I don't think I feel this on the same level that a lot of other people speaking on the subject seem to feel it. You know, there are a lot of things that I find pretty redeemable about this set, and we'll talk about them in just a second, but while we're on the subject, I also tend to agree with a lot of these same folks' speculation that this set was either a not meant for standard set, or it could have started life as a smaller set that they had to fill out cards from. And honestly, I think it's also likely it could be both, and that led to a product that feels a little bit rushed and a little bit off in a lot of ways. Now, whether this set started life as a series of commander decks or a series of secret layers they were going to put out maybe, or maybe even a smaller, not meant for standard set, I can't tell you, but it does seem from someone kind of from the outside looking in as an armchair expert for the last 30 years of my life, which is worth literally nothing, to be honest with you. It does seem like there was some sort of hiccup in the design process at some point, and it shows, and that is a point against the set. I also gotta say, and this is probably the most important point when it comes to what people are saying about this set online. I agree with what appears to be the majority opinion, that maybe New York City is just not the best location for a Magic the Gathering thing. Now, look, I am a guy who does not usually take stuff like this seriously whatsoever. I didn't mind all the stupid hats in the detective set, Murders at Karlov Manor. I didn't mind Ether Drift, for God's sakes. I didn't mind the Cowboy set. And I told a lot of you throughout the last year and a half, you know, like, get over it. It ain't a big deal. There's jokes in Magic the Gathering. There's been jokes since Rabid Wombat. You know, we're just trying to have some fun here. It ain't a big deal. Just, you know, chainsaw being a thing in Magic the Gathering because of Duskmorn. I thought that was actually kind of cool, right? But we get to New York City and we have literally like a taxi cab, a ferry that you can ride, you know, we have like a hot dog cart, you know, even a guy like me who usually lets stuff like that slide and even kind of likes it to some degree was kind of like, okay, bagel and schmear. So I guess we're just doing like a real world food in every single set now. Like it's even starting to get a guy like me to roll his eyes. And a lot of you are not guys like me. A lot of y'all are people who rolled your eyes, I don't know, a year and a half ago when all this started to begin with. You know, one of my pet theories about this Spider Man set that I've been seeing pop up online from time to time is this idea that they've actually been kind of soft preparing us for the world of New York City in the Spider-Man set for the last couple of years with like New Capenna and the Ravnica set that felt nothing like Ravnica and felt more like a big city, and even Kamigawa Neon Dynasty to an extent. They were preparing us for this like real world modern city setting, and I think it's a fun theory, but I also think you can't at the same time believe the theory that this set was a rush job because they thought it wasn't going to be a standard set and they realized it would be a standard set later and then they made it standardly. Okay, I don't think you can believe both things at the same time. You can't have it both ways, Mr. Gribble, right? Either the set was a rush job or they've been setting us up for it for the last 2.5, 3 years. You can't have it both ways. But one way or the other, that's a really, really fun theory. And I'm not sure that I believe a word of it, but at least it's fun. I like fun theories. Kind of harmless at the end of the day. But anyway, I still don't know that I am used to seeing New York City. Now, there is a part of me, because there's always two cats inside of me, you know how I am. There's always going to be a part of me that's like, well, why not? I think it's important to ask yourself questions like that whenever you have a knee-jerk, especially an angry, like reactionary response to something, right? You ask yourself, why do you feel that way? Or in this case, why can't New York City be the setting for a Magic the Gathering set, right? Like, it's a plane of existence on which magic could exist, and a planeswalker could, I guess, theoretically find themselves walking to. So, you know, I guess by that logic, literally any plane of existence could work for universes beyond. So I don't love that logic, and I don't love the logic of a lot of the defenses that I've seen online for this set or why it feels magic-y. You know, like Wizards has talked a bit in the past about adjacency being an important factor in the choice of a universes beyond. That's why Lord of the Rings did so well. It's why Final Fantasy is the best-selling set of all time. They're very adjacent to Magic the Gathering as properties. They feel like Magic the Gathering. And I've seen an entire Reddit post where a guy made a point that basically Spider-Man is the most Magic-adjacent property they've ever done, because every comic shop they've ever bought Magic cards in also sell Spider-Man stuff. Yeah, it's kind of a silly point on its face, but I guess I see what the guy's trying to say in that they're literally next to each other. How adjacent do you want a thing to be? The comic books are right next to the Magic cards. And sure, there is going to be some crossover. There's going to be some people who collect Spider-Man stuff and Spider-Man comics and are really into it, who also play Magic or know Magic playing people because they frequent the card shop or whatever. There is some crossover just based on kind of location here, but I'm not sure that it actually works as an argument for why it's a Magic adjacent property in terms of the feel. Probably the silliest argument that I've seen online in, I guess, support of this set and its adjacency to Magic the Gathering is when people say that this doesn't feel like a fantasy set to them. Again, it's got a freaking hot dog card in it. This does not feel like a fantasy set. And someone will saunter up next to them and adjust their glasses and say, excuse me, but Spider-Man debuted in a magazine called Amazing Fantasy. Checkmate, it's fantasy. I just feel like they're both sold in comic shops thing misses the point. And honestly, the whole he debuted in a magazine called Amazing Fantasy is just a little bit pedantic and again misses the point. And honestly, it's a little bit snide too. To be honest, I haven't really seen a defense of the set online that I can truly get behind, except for the folks who are like, I just really like Spider-Man, dude. Which are the people that I think kind of matter most in all of this. If you really like Spider-Man and you're super jacked for this set, and I've seen a few of you in the comments section who want to build an all Spider-Man commander deck or whatever, you do you go, girl. Seriously, do that and be excited for the set, and I am excited for you. And to be honest, I'm a little bit on your side, at least a little bit. Usually I'm kind of a fence sitter, and I try to kind of play both sides because I want to be empathetic and see where everyone's coming from and all that, but I definitely sit more on the not exactly jazzed about this side of the fence this time around. But like I said earlier, there's a lot of things that I like about this set, and to be honest, I'm not going to defend it in some stupid way that involves some kind of nebulous argument. Instead, I'm just going to talk about what I actually like about this set mechanically and as far as the cards go, and some of the things they did with the set, like the art direction and stuff that I think are actually kind of cool. For one, the set is just full of cool cards. There are cool cards in this thing, and I know there are some that feel a little bit rushed, right? But for every couple of those, we get a card like, Strength of Will, which looks like an incredible piece for commander decks or basically anything that wants to protect its creatures. Shadow of the Goblin is another amazing commander card that's going to go really well with Underworld Breach and that format, but could be a combo finisher in Standard and just looks like a fun card to brew around in general. Villainous Wrath, that's an awesome looking Wrath effect. It's super simple, by the way. Like I said, I like that, and I'll probably make that point again in this video. Very simple, kind of, text on a card here that for some reason has never existed, and now it does, and I like that it does. It's a really awesome card that I can't wait to play with, both in Standard and to put in a bunch of my commander decks. So, and I'll note, by the way, that the first 3 cards we just looked at in the last 20-30 seconds here, they're all cards that have names that could easily be reprinted into future sets without the whole Spider-Man thing going on. And I've got a point to make about that a little bit later on too, but there's a bunch of creatures that probably won't get reprinted again necessarily that I also really like and want to play in my commander decks or as my commander, or even just in Standard, like Moreland is a really good example of that. I want to play this in Standard. I want it to be chilling in my command zone for the next few years. I really like effects like this. He's got lifelink, so he'll zap your opponent. When he comes into play, you'll gain life. I love creatures you can just scale. He can be a 3/2 or he can be a 7/6 or whatever. He's like a version of Gary in some ways, it's like a drain life on a body. What an awesome card that I can't wait to play with. Honestly, it's not even just about the individual cards in this set. And note that, again, just about every card that I've shown you so far has been a pretty simple little piece of cardboard that you'd be surprised some of the time hasn't been printed before. Right? And I kind of feel the same way about the mechanics in this set. These are simple mechanics that I think will play really, really fun when we get to actually play with them. There's Mayhem, which is a version of Madness that, again, is just as simple to understand as Madness, and I think it might be just as or even more powerful because you don't have to play the card right as you discard it. You can play it later on in the turn if you want to and sequence things differently with Mayhem, and I think that might actually be more powerful in a lot of ways. But again, it's a very simple, easy to understand mechanic that will read powerful and play in a fun way and calls back to a mechanic a lot of Magic players hold dear and know for a fact is powerful. So, and some of the stuff that we saw with Mayhem is pretty jacked, man. 1 mana 3 2s and 2 mana 4 3s and stuff like that. There are some wild Mayhem cards in this set, so I really like what they did with that mechanic. But as far as web slinging goes, this feels like, my chat pointed this out the other night on Twitch, it feels a bit like ninjutsu, but in some ways it's going to be better than ninjutsu because again, you repeat the enter the battlefield triggers and all that, but you have more control over when you actually get the ability to pop off. With ninjutsu, a creature has to be attacking and unblocked. Whereas with web slinging, you can crew a vehicle, you can station a planet, station a spacecraft, something like that, or tap a creature down for an activated ability, any number of reasons that you could have a creature tap down. And then that works with web slinging. And I think that that's actually pretty sick too, So there's a lot of cool things about both of the kind of marquee mechanics in this set that I really, really like. Hell, there's even spider support in this set for your commander decks. It might be tough to find a place for Mary Jane Watson that can't go in your Ishkana deck, can't go in your Shelob deck or whatever, but maybe there's a spider deck and commander that can use it. But stuff like Wall Crawl, that's going to go in every Ishkana or Shelob deck from now until the end of time, and any other legendary spiders they print that can be your commander. If you want to play spiders, you're going to be playing Wall Crawl. So there's some support in the set for spiders, which is something that honestly, kind of on the low, a lot of commander players have been asking for throughout the years. So we even got that. I'll go so far as in some ways, I kind of believe this, to say that if this hadn't been a Spider-Man set, people would have loved it. Again, there's some great mechanics in the set that I think they leveraged in some pretty interesting and fun ways. And with cards like, not just the stuff we've already looked at, like Shadow the Goblin, but with stuff like Spidey Sense in this set under a different name with a different guy on it that's not specifically Spider-Man, I think people would have freaked out about just that card existing in the first place. That card should be selling packs. It's so ridiculous, but I think that a lot of people are skipping out on this set, which in some ways I think is a mistake. In other ways, it's 100% your choice if that's what you're choosing to do. And I respect that. You don't have to look at every Magic product that comes out. And to be honest, it's probably not good for your mental health to do so. But there are good cards in this set. There are good concepts in this set. And for what it's worth, there are good characters in this set too. I learned some stuff about Spider-Man that I didn't kind of previously know. Some characters and stuff that I think are really cool. And I think that's kind of nice. My Magic the Gathering shouldn't have to teach me about Spider-Man. I'll give you that point. But, I didn't know who the Spot was before all this. He looks awesome. So I guess that's kind of cool. Now, honestly, I don't know if it's fair to say if this weren't a Spider-Man set, people would have loved it, because it is kind of a big deal what the names of cards are, what characters they depict, if it's an outside property that people kind of roll their eyes at. All of those things are definitely things that absolutely matter. You can't just not pay attention to the art on a card and just look at the text and care about that. I think it's possible for some people, but I don't expect it to be possible for everyone, and I kind of wouldn't want it to be either. Despite how awesome these cards are, at least some of them are at the end of the day, it's also Spider-Man at the end of the day, and I can understand how that's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, including my own. And even if you are a die-hard, Spider-Man isn't Magic the Gathering fish shaker type, there's a couple of cool Easter eggs in here for y'all too. Have you noticed that the card's secret identity basically has the same exact art as Unmasked from almost 30 years ago? It's even the same artist, so pretty awesome little Easter egg there. And I know that I got at least 2 or 3 people watching just now to be like, oh, that is cool. And don't worry, it doesn't mean you don't have to like the set. I just thought it was a cool thing and I wanted to bring it up. I mean, all of the cynics out there and just people that absolutely hate this set and Universes Beyond as a whole, there's fewer and fewer of those people as the days go on, but the ones that are still hanging on are die-hards, baby. And the ones that aren't still hanging on, they just kind of stopped playing Magic. That's not good. So for the health of the game, right? But I just kind of want y'all to know that that is in me. I feel like I'm always positive about everything, and I'm always trying to put a positive spin on what Wizards is doing or whatever, except for when they're doing really awful stuff. I didn't come out here when they hired the Pinkertons actually, when they do horrible stuff, it's I always criticize them for that, but I just want you all to know that I am not I don't have any sort of incentive to come out here and defend Spider-Man or anything. I just genuinely feel like there are cool cards in the set that I kind of can't wait to play with. I'm not one of those people that's oh my god, it's Spider-Man, I'm gonna buy that, it's Spider-Man. I don't really care. But at the end of the day, I like cool Magic cards, and there are a ton of them in the set, and the mechanics are cool too. So, again, I'm not there's not a guy with a gun over here. It's say the things, Dev. That's not happening. I just genuinely feel like there is a lot to like about this set in a lot of ways, but there is a lot of you in me, you know? Sometimes I do feel like if I even so much as see one more like electrical device on a Magic card, I'm gonna shut down the YouTube channel. It's never gonna happen, but still, I have that in me sometimes too, where I'm like, oh, come on, really, come on, you know? But I guess that when they do put out cool cards that I'm excited to play with, I will forgive a dumb card here and there. You know, the last thing I want to say in this video is that Brittany and I went to the store to get drinks, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half ago. Like I was going to plan on, you know, go get us drinks. I got a nice coffee right here and come home and start recording this video. And on the way home, a car in front of us stopped at a red light, had a Spider-Man sticker on the back window of their car, like just the Spider-Man face in the back window of their car. And obviously, considering I'm coming home to record this video, that kind of got me thinking. You know, it got me thinking that I'm not from where y'all are from. I'm from the South, you know, and I've never seen a Final Fantasy sticker on someone's car. I've never seen a Walking Dead sticker on someone's car. I've never even seen an Avatar: The Last Airbender sticker on someone's car, which is kind of surprising. I feel like I should have seen that by now, and maybe that you have. I've especially never seen a Magic the Gathering sticker on someone's car in real life. We've all seen the Lotus Elise that says Black Lotus on the license plate. We've all seen that. In real life, I've never seen like the mana symbols on someone's back windshield. And again, maybe you have. That would be cool to see that, but I've never seen it. I've seen countless Spider-Man stickers on the back windshield of people's cars. And I guess that kind of means something. It's at the end of the day, I don't really care that much about Spider-Man, and neither do you, apparently. Like, a lot of y'all don't, and I completely understand why. More than most, I swear to you, I get it. But there are a lot of people out there to whom this does matter. You know, when Final Fantasy came out, I made a bunch of pleas to you for why I like that set, despite it being Universes Beyond. You know, this is the game I played with my late father for a long time, and we forged a connection throughout the years over Final Fantasy. It's a thing that means a lot to me. And if you want to be a jerk and just call it some media property or some capitalist thing, and like, I hate capitalism as much as the next guy, but like, you know, I understand calling it that, but you also have to understand that it is a kind of glib and reductive way of looking at things that shape culture and mean something to people. And I think that much like I played Final Fantasy with my dad and forged a connection with him over that, there were a lot of people that grew up, you know, watching Spider-Man movies with their parents or reading Spider-Man comics that their dad or mom read when they were older, or younger rather. So, you know, I feel like that is probably, you know, I imagine there are countless families that sat down and watched the first, you know, Spider-Verse movie, where, you know, mom and dad have been enjoying Spider-Man since at least Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and maybe even before, you know, the animated series or something. And they're watching it with their, you know, 10 to 12 or 13-year-old kid who also loves Spider-Man. And it's a bonding experience for the entire family. And I think that a lot of people have that experience with this property more than you or I might know or believe. So it does mean something to people, even if it doesn't mean everything to me or you watching this video. So I don't know, man. I'm not saying that it's perfect for Magic the Gathering, but I do think a lot more people than we currently understand will be into something like this. And at the end of the day, if you're not into it, all you got to do is kind of hunker down. We're going to get Lorwyn into Strixhaven at the beginning of next year, and I think that's where a lot of people are going to come back to Magic the Gathering. But if you're going to take a break until then, I guess I understand it. I hope you still kind of check in for videos from time to time, because, you know, I gotta live. But in any case, it won't be long until we get some more actual Magic the Gathering sets, and it looks like, on the current schedule at least, who knows, that's subject to change, that we're gonna get 2 Magic sets back to back. And I know we should get nothing but Magic sets back to back. I get that. I agree, but where we live right now, the current reality, this horrible timeline, that's just not the way it is, and it won't be too much longer until we go back to places that we really like. I know you like Lorwyn, and I know not everyone likes Strixhaven, but I do. So I can't wait for those one way or the other. But in the meantime, between time, there are cool cards to enjoy in Spider-Man, even if Spider-Man just ain't your thing, man. But I think that I've repeated myself enough for the night. If just let me know how you feel about everything. Now's a good time. Kind of put all our heads together, see where we are. And I'm pretty sure I know where you are, but I'm still interested to see your articulated, specific thoughts from your brain. I want to know. But, if you're really excited about the set, I especially want to hear from you. But also don't want to lopside the comments section and make it appear as though more people are excited about this than there really are. Make sure you let me know if you just absolutely loathe this thing too. But anyway, y'all, on your way out, do the YouTube stuff, hit the like button, check out all the other preview videos for Spider-Man we've done so far this season. Make sure you sub to the sandwich if you haven't done it yet. Trying to get to $1.50. I'm at $1.38. So help me get there. I'd appreciate that. You could also support the channel over on Patreon, just $1 a month to vote on content, not just in the Spider-Man standard, which you don't care about, but also in Avatar standard, which I have a feeling more of you somehow care about, and then also in Lorwyn standard, which everyone cares about. So make sure you go in there. Support for only $1 a month. It helps out in this unimaginable way. You have no idea how much that helps me. I need Patreon basically more than any other thing that I do. I don't really make much money off YouTube. It's really Patreon that keeps me doing this. So if you got $1, I would be grateful if you would spend it that way. But anyway, I've spent too much of your time today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.